Hello everybody, I am not dead yet, and today I want to talk about the whole issue of influencers giving people body dysmorphia and or EDs. Disorders related to consuming food. Because like, with the whole thing that's been going around with Greg Doucette lately, and the whole, if you don't have abs, you are fat, right? I've seen a lot of people, especially even just in terms of the main gaining / bulking debate, I've seen a lot of people in various comment sections talking about how attempting to follow Greg's advice or trying to main gain contributed to their EDs and kept them not only just perpetually small, but in this perpetual cycle of needing to stay lean. And this only got worse when I reposted a snippet of Greg's video explaining what main gaining actually was, saying that I actually quite liked that video and thought that it cleared up everything for me in terms of what main gaining is, and it cleared up the inconsistencies. I had a lot of people DM me kind of saying, well, Greg's a sham, he contributed to my eating disorder, he did this, he did that. And then obviously, with the whole if you don't have abs, you're fat, a bunch of different videos came out talking about whether or not that can influence eating disorders. Let's get the first thing out of the way, Greg. Does Greg influence eating disorders? Does Greg cause eating disorders? Honestly, my answer, I believe, is no. I think that you'd have to be pretty selective about the information that you take from Greg for it to truly influence your eating disorder. Because he states multiple times that you shouldn't be too lean. I mean, again, his favorite thing is close your eyes, picture your dream physique, open them, you're not getting it. And then, but even beyond that, he states multiple times in multiple videos that the ideal body fat range for a natural person, healthy, who trains, is anywhere from 12 to 20% body fat. Maybe a little bit more if you have bad genetics, and maybe a little bit leaner if you have great genetics or on gear, right? Man, I have to up my Greg impression game. I can do a better Greg impression. I have to start yelling because, like, I can't do the new Greg. The new Greg's voice is a little bit higher up in terms of pitch, but if we go back to the older Greg videos, his voice was a lot more raspy and down about 1 or 2 octaves. So this is my actual Greg impression. I don't know what you guys think of it, but here it is. Anyway, point being, no, I don't think Greg influences an eating disorder. Oh, but he said if you don't have abs, you're fat. Yeah, and I agree. Whoa, you agree with? Yeah, I do. It's basically just the same kind of standard I use for myself. When I look at myself in the mirror, when it comes to how I look and how I feel, I use a mix of both how I feel and the eyeball test. In fact, I've been weighing myself a lot more now, specifically because I need to stay within a certain weight class for my boxing. But when I first started to get healthy again, because I don't want to say losing weight, because for me, losing weight was never the goal. I wanted to get healthy, and I wanted to look better and feel better. And so for me, losing weight was a byproduct of that. I never had a specific goal weight in mind. I was about 10 pounds heavier than I had ever been in my entire life. About 170 pounds. And I didn't say, okay, well, I want to get back down to 160. I just said, I'm going to start training again, eat a little bit, I'm going to eat better, watch what I'm eating a little bit more, and just get back to feeling good again. And that is how I measured my progress. I would look in the mirror and say, okay, how do I look? Do I like the way I look? And how do I feel? Am I improving in various lifts, various whatevers? And I get that that is incredibly subjective. And I get that in saying the whole, if you can't see your abs, you're fat, does have problems with it. I get that. And Joffrey Verdi Schofield put out a recent video that discusses, like, okay, it's not the worst thing ever, but it does have its flaws. And I totally agree with that, but I think that Joffrey's video is actually really good and rather objective. Go give it a watch, I'll link it. But ultimately, I don't think it's the worst advice in the world. I think that you should, and this kind of leads me into my next point, actually, is I think people need to take a little bit of personal responsibility and learn to adapt information and tailor-make it to themselves. Because it's really funny, actually. I was scrolling through TikTok, and I found this video.
TikTok abs start to show around 25% body fat, which is about what I am. And people without abs are probably much closer to 50% body fat.
Your abs are visible for most people well above 20%.
TikTok abs start to show around 25% body fat.
If you can't see your abs, then you're fat.
And people without abs are probably much closer to 50% body fat.
If you can't see your abs, then you're fat.
When you post this video, nobody bats an eye, but you post this video and the whole society goes wild. Society. Right? But like, because it's funny, what he said in that TikTok is basically what Greg said. Like, but he worded it slightly better. And I do agree that words matter. I do agree that it's important to have empathy for people who are a little bit more mentally susceptible to certain, I hate this word, but triggers, for lack of a better word. But ultimately, I do believe that at the end of the day, it is on the individual that has these certain problems to monitor not only themselves, but also the content that they look at. A lot of people have been getting mad at Greg, and the reason why I know is because, again, having inserted myself into this drama, I've had a lot of people DM me trying to convince me one way or the other. I've given a ton of different... That's another thing. If you guys are gonna try and DM me saying Greg is terrible because this is what happened to me, or main gaining doesn't work because this is what happened to me, I have not attempted main gaining myself for the express purpose of building muscle. I have never bulked and cut in my life. I actually would advise main gaining because the way Greg explained it makes a lot of sense to me, but I cannot speak from my own personal experience, so I can't say, oh, it worked for me. And so for every person that comes into my DM saying main gaining doesn't work or Greg sucks, I have the exact same number of people saying main gaining worked great for me and Greg is awesome. So you're not going to convince me with your own story. I'll listen to your story, and it's great to hear feedback from multiple different people, but you're not going to I'm not going to be like, oh wow, that story really convinced me. I'll listen, and again, it's something that I will take into account, but it's not going to be like, well, that happened to you, well, obviously it didn't work then. It's just like, if you're trying to convince me with your own story, I have a ton of people trying to convince me with their own stories, and all of them clash. Right? And I don't have my own story to back anything up. So I am as neutral as I possibly can be, aside from the fact that I like Greg. And that's another thing. People, before anybody's like, oh, you're just a Greg fanboy. Yes and no. I like Greg. And I've said it before in multiple videos. I see a lot of myself in Greg. I think our personalities are very similar. And even Greg has said that our personalities are very similar. So whenever I find myself in a situation or with drama involving Greg, what I do is I am more willing to give Greg the benefit of the doubt because I put myself in Greg's situation and go, okay, well, what would I be thinking? What would I do in that scenario? And I know that isn't perfect. Greg and I are not the same person. Obviously, we do not agree all the time. We do not always see eye to eye, but I am more likely, for those reasons, to give Greg the benefit of the doubt, and so I will argue more in his favor. There are people who are less likely to give Greg the benefit of the doubt while still remaining relatively objective, because objectivism, in my opinion, honestly, ironically, can be rather relative, because we all have our own biases. And so I am somebody who likes Greg, and that is my bias. And so I am more willing to give Greg the benefit of the doubt than someone who doesn't like Greg. So again, if you really want a true, unbiased summary of everything that's going on, I recommend you watch a ton of videos and come to your own conclusions, because that is what I think everyone should do. And that brings me back to that point of personal responsibility, because it seems like a lot of people, to me, just try and constantly look to these gurus of self-help or fitness to do the work for them. It's especially funny in terms of like self-help books and shit. Figures like Jordan Peterson, David Goggins, Greg Doucette, even people like Ben Shapiro, who I've seen people place up on a pedestal, Steven Crowder. Like, the main irony of all these kinds of self-help related people, right, that I've seen people kind of place up on this pedestal, is the fact that they would not listen to self-help type people. Gary Vee, who I think is rather obnoxious. I haven't seen a lot of Gary Vee shit, but I think he's pretty obnoxious. But the irony is, do you think Gary Vee would listen to Gary Vee? Do you think Greg Doucette would listen to a Greg Doucette-esque figure? Do you think David Goggins would listen to a David Goggins-esque figure? No. I think, personally, what they would do is they would listen to other people, their ideologies or whatever, take what they like, apply it to them, and throw away the rest. Which is what I encourage everyone to do. Because when you are unable to do that, it feeds into this cult mentality, and then you are much more susceptible to falling victim to these extremes. Like when people who say, like for example, people who said that Greg caused their eating disorder, or people in the body positivity movement, the fat acceptance movement. And what I see oftentimes, and this isn't just with Greg, like I think the only reason why I'm speaking of Greg now is because right now he's in the hot seat, but like really this could apply to literally anyone in the fitness space, Athleen X, Tristan Lee, C-Bum, but pick a person, because honestly speaking, I was really going to make a point where it's like, I don't see a lot of people discussing the fact that these other creators that stay super shredded are influencing eating disorders. But honestly, in doing a little bit of research for this video, just scrolling through different videos, I actually do see people criticizing people like Athleen X for saying, this is what Athleen looks like. As an actual athlete, Athleen X is not Athleen. Look at the top of some of the people in my sport. People like Teofimo Lopez, Canelo Alvarez, any of the heavyweights, but more specifically Usyk or Tyson Fury, but even people like Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua aren't as shredded as Athleen X. And so it's like, Athleen X more specifically, I believe, is actually selling this idea that lean equals athletic and good. And to a lot of these channels' credits, they have actually called out Athleen X. So I'm just going to say, so I'm not really going to make that point, but what I am going to say is that with your inability to think for yourself, they end up going from one ideology to the exactly opposed ideology. And they continue to follow people like sheep. And I don't encourage that. I think that you can take something from everybody, a little bit here, a little bit there, take what you need and make your own ideology. I'm pretty sure that's how Greg came up with his circle diet. And again, take a little bit of personal responsibility for the content that you watch. If you are a binge eater, you probably shouldn't be watching mukbangs. If you are anorexic or struggle with body image issues, maybe you shouldn't watch Greg Doucette, whose channel is a weight loss channel. And then people will be saying, oh, well, no, but he's a bodybuilder. He talks about PEDs too and stuff. No, he's a weight loss channel. And this isn't an insult to Greg. It's not. His Circle Diet book, which he himself called the culmination of his life's work put into a book, is a weight loss book. He has a strength training manual. He has his hotel hypertrophy alliteration Happy Hogan training manual. And he has his other training manual, the Harder Than Last Time book or whatever. But those aren't the culmination of his life's work. The culmination of his life's work is a weight loss book. Greg Doucette is a weight loss channel. So if you struggle with continuously wanting to lose weight and needing to actually bulk up and gain a little bit more weight, then maybe you should filter out Greg or not watch him as much, because he is a channel that primarily focuses on weight loss. And then people are going to be like, and no. Actually, before I move on to the people reaction stuff, I want to talk about the reactions I see in the comment section, because it leads to that. People seem like they woke up, and they talk about how they've woken up in the comment sections of people like Revival Fitness or Joffrey Verdi Schofield, where they say, oh, you have pushed me to bulk and I finally realized that I need to bulk. And that's good if you needed that. That's great. But I don't encourage you to blindly follow the bulk and cut ideology and listen to whatever the influencers that spout the bulk and cut ideology say. Don't listen to everything they say without question. Personalize it to you. What I would honestly suggest, if it is possible for you to do it, watch a little bit of Greg, watch a little bit of Geoff, watch a little bit of Revival Fitness if you like him. I personally don't really like his style of content, but if you do, watch them all and mesh it into a style and in a workout and a fitness ideology that works for you. Learn to think for yourself. A lot of people talk to me about, in these videos that I put out, where they're like, wow, you have such a critical mind. How did you develop that? I thought for myself. And I continue to think for myself over years and years and years. And people will say, and now we're getting into the reactions, is, well, you're victim blaming. How dare you tell the person that Greg caused an eating disorder that they should do stuff for themselves? And because, first of all, we talk about the importance of language. Greg caused my eating disorder. I see that a lot. I don't know if I'm going to actually dig through comments and see if I can find one, but I've seen that a lot. Greg caused my eating disorder. I believe it is more accurate to say he influenced your eating disorder, because no one person can cause an ED. You were already mentally more susceptible to that type of situation. And in viewing Greg's stuff, you continued down that path. But nobody put a gun to your head and forced you to put the fork down. Yes, Greg says put the fork down a lot, but you were the one who actually did it. And I think there's a big personal responsibility. Sure, you are the victim. Whenever people are going to be talking about, oh, you're victim blaming, and sure, you may be a victim, but I think there's a difference between victim blaming and recognizing that there is a personal responsibility on the part of the victim to keep themselves safe, or that recognizing that the victim can still be a victim while at the same time recognizing that they play a role in the situation that they're in. Here, I'll give you an example. If I live in a dangerous city. If I don't tell anyone where I am and get blackout drunk, and if my phone dies and I try to walk home downtown and get mugged, am I still the victim of a mugging? Yes, I'm a victim. However, are there things that I could have done to make my situation a little bit better for myself? Yeah, I could have gone with a friend, not let my phone die, not get so blackout drunk, let people know where I am, etc., etc. Another one being, let's say I leave my phone in my car unlocked when I'm going to the grocery store and someone steals it, right? Am I still the victim of a theft? Yeah. Could I have done a few things to help out myself? Yeah, maybe not leave my phone in the car where somebody could see it and keep the car locked, right? And so to me, well, sure, it is terrible that you are suffering and that you have suffered from certain eating disorders, and I'm glad that you're able to recover, and I'm glad that finding certain channels were able to help you recover a little bit more, because their channels focused more on the bulk side of things, whereas Greg focuses more on weight loss. I'm glad that you were able to do that. But I encourage you to take a moment to step back and go, what could I have done for myself in order to make it so that it is less likely that I will experience that disorder again in the future? Because I do think that we can all do something to help ourselves. I don't like saying, oh, you caused my eating disorder, because it takes away the power from the individual to do something. And I disagree with that. I believe we can all do something. And that even if it's a minor thing, I believe we all have a part to play in the situation that we find ourselves in. And so, while sure, there are things that are out of our control, I think it's important for us to start talking about more personal responsibility on the part of the viewer, as well as having a conversation about what you say as an influencer and how it affects people that watch you. Because I think that it's a conversation, I think it can be a very productive conversation, but simply pointing fingers all around the room saying this person did this and this person did this, I think there's more nuance to that. And to Joffrey Verdi Schofield's credit, in his video where he talks about how accurate is the statement, if you don't have abs, you're fat, he does touch upon personal responsibility, but I wanted to make a whole video about it to really encourage the audience to think for themselves and not fall victim to blindly following any ideologue, whether it be self-help, weight loss, bulk and cut, because in doing that, the more even if you're switching from one extreme to the other, which is never healthy, as long as you do not think for yourself, you are allowing the possibility of you being taken advantage of, or you falling down back into whatever negative situation you found yourself in. You are opening up the possibility of that happening again if you continue to just blindly follow what other people say without thinking. That is my thoughts on the situation. Feel free to discuss in the comments below whatever part of it, whether you agree with me, agree with Greg, Joff, Revival Fitness, or you disagree with all of us and you have this mind-blowing take that'll blow us all away. Whatever you think, leave it in the comments below. But for now, thank you to everybody who supports me on Patreon. It means the absolute world. I cannot thank you enough. If you want to support me, all of my links are down in the description. Instagram, PayPal, Patreon, TikTok, and HGLT and GregDoucette.com affiliate links. But until next time, remember, only the strong subscribe. I am not dead yet, and if you are not either, there is always a tomorrow waiting for you.